So we're joined from the capital city of Alabama, Montgomery, by my friend Courtney Andrews, lighting services engineer with Alabama Power. We thank you so much for joining us. This is our final guest of the school year. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools. Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. We're in the STEM career cluster for our college career readiness class, and we thank you so much for taking some time for us.
Thank you. Nice
All
presentation.
right. Now, obviously, we want to talk about all you do at Alabama Power, but just give us a little background. You're an HBCU alum, and even though this is Jackson State territory, you still are a SWAC alum. They're representing the Alabama A&M Bulldogs in Huntsville. So, just tell us about your HBCU experience because we have a lot of kids that are thinking about college and maybe considering an HBCU.
Okay. Well, it all started in high school for me. So my dad, he graduated from Alabama as an electrical engineer in the late 70s. So growing up in the early 90s and early 2000s, I had the opportunity to actually work with my father, which a lot of people don't have that opportunity.
That's awesome.
So yeah, this has been in my mind for 30 plus years. So I got to work with a lot of tools and equipments that he had to use on the job. So in high school, um, in Alabama, we have sectionals and then we have the state track meet. So my senior year, guys, it happens sometimes. I still hadn't decided what college I was going to. I hadn't decided if I was going to go to a JUCO, go to a 4 year, because apparently just staying at the house, kicking it with my folks, apparently it just wasn't going to be an option. So the day before sectionals in oh, I forgot. It was out near Phoenix City, Alabama. I went to my last tour, which was on A&M's campus. So my mom drove me down there and I had a scheduled tour. It might have been 2 hours. I loved it. I fell in love with it. And on the way to the sectionals track meet to qualify for state, I told my mom, hey, this is where I want to go. I don't want to go to Tuskegee anymore. I don't want to go to Tennessee State. I don't want to go to Alabama. This is where I want to go. I'm originally from Birmingham, so it was an hour and a half away. I'm like, it's not too far, but it's far enough to where you can't visit me every day if that's what you felt like you wanted to do. So, and that's the school that I chose. It had the discipline. A&M at the time had three hardcore engineerings, which was electrical, mechanical, and civil engineering. So with my dad being electrical, I knew exactly what I didn't want to do. But 15 years later, now with Alabama Power, it's kind of exactly what I'm doing now. So I graduated in 2012. I got my first job as a post-grad internship with Volkswagen as an industrial engineer in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Yes, that's very different. I had no clue what I was doing. I never saw a car that close up from the guts to a finished product to being painted. It was very different for me. So I did that for about 5 months until I got my first job in Fayetteville, Tennessee with Goodman. So Goodman is an AC. Our particular plant was air conditioning units and furnaces, both on the residential and furnace side of things. So we did that. I worked with the company until they announced that they would be closing. So I drew up some plans. Yeah, I drew up some plans to close two sites in Tennessee, one in Texas, to move to another city in Texas. So after I drew that up, it was time for a change to me. And I have been in Montgomery for the past 10 years since.
Wow.
So I never planned on, and my family, a portion of my family is from Montgomery. I just never saw myself moving down here ever, especially with the taxes in Tennessee being so much better. So,
Absolutely. Now, I do want to hit on Alabama A&M real quick because, as we know, it is the HBCU member of the SWAC. They come to Jackson all the time to play games. But I have a lot of kids tell me, I went to a black high school. I don't want to go to a black college. I want to experience something different. But I always say, historically black does not mean exclusively black. There
correct.
are the faces of HBCUs have changed drastically just in the last decade. So everybody there is not, well, first of all, to put all black people in a monolith is crazy as well, because you have people from all over the world that go there. So it really is still a very diverse experience and a very diverse education.
So the only reason that HBCUs exist is because minorities, mainly black minorities, were not granted the opportunity to attend what we call a PWI, which is a predominantly white institution. So at Alabama A&M, William Hooper Council, which was founded, I forget what the original school was called in the late 1800s. Don't get me to lying, but it was founded because of that. So black people, and especially during that time, since they were not afforded the opportunity, you had to create an
There you
opportunity
go.
for yourself for that education. And of course, at that time, it still wasn't very prevalent on a lot of black people and minorities who could read and write.
Yep.
So being able to have that land grant at that point to establish a school, have professors, and find the students who would be interested in attending, I assure you, was a challenge in itself in the late 1800s.
Absolutely.
And we fast forward many, many years later, and there are different faces on campus. We have different programs, different extracurricular activities, specifically our soccer team, our bowling team, basketball, softball, and baseball. It's not, you know, predominantly black. It's people of color, um, Caucasians, anybody who's interested. It's not anybody shying you away. Is if you have an interest in this, go right on ahead and take interest in it. If you're good at it.
Absolutely.
And that's what it is. I mean, most of my professors in the engineering on the engineering side and on the hard science side, when I was in school, specifically with my hard sciences and my math courses, everybody, all of my professors were people of color, weren't
Wow.
necessarily black. So, and then that's another barrier that really, as an American, you have to get past. Is get past the accent, get past how somebody sounds to you. I used the trick of if somebody had a very thick accent, I just
Huh.
close my eyes, listen to what they say, and I figured out from there. If I had any questions, I raised my hand. And I was always that person in class everybody hated. Well, Courtney, why are you asking so many questions? Well, I don't understand what they're saying. Y'all aren't going to ask. So I'll be that person.
Yeah, I actually had a professor from Thailand at a University of Southern Mississippi. So um, that is something, no matter where you go to college, that is very possible. Even at some of the community colleges here in the Jackson area, we have a lot of Asian professors. So it really is another great way to experience new cultures. Now, something that I think people don't realize is that no matter what product you use, no matter where you go, at some point an engineer touched some part of that process, whether it was a chemical engineer, an electrical engineer, an industrial engineer, a civil engineer. So obviously the word engine is what we think about when we think engineer because it's part of the word, but it really is a lot more to it. There's a lot of problem solving, there's a lot of planning, a lot of plans drawn up, a lot of people creating the process for things to be made. So what are some things that engineers touch that we probably don't understand that they do?
So my first 5 years, I got tasked with finding out what an engineer was. So the Latin form of engineer is ingenerare, which means to invent. And that's basically what we do for a living. And I know lots of people, well, I'm never going to use math. I'm never going to use science. You use it every day. When you're walking, when you're talking, when you're walking in your mind, you have to project how fast do I have to go to walk to this destination, or in my car, how far behind the car in front of me do I have to be to not crash if I'm going 75 in a 60? How much distance do I have to anticipate to brake if the car in front of me slams on the brake? So nobody thinks about this stuff. Nobody thinks about this stuff, but it's in the mind every day. And because it's so far back in your mind, nobody really thinks about that. So on the engineering side of things, you know, people love to say, well, my car can go to 0 to 100 in 5.6 seconds. It's a reason for that. It's a reason. You have pistons, you have an engine, you have to have the proper oil to lubricate everything. Like, it's a system that works together. None of it works separately. It's all a reason. It's a reason why when it's raining outside, your car doesn't leak. You have those fine seal gaskets that are around the doors, the windows. It all exists for a reason. Things break down for a reason. We can talk about all the random bridges that people think just collapse. No, things don't just collapse. But over time, and you have those civil engineers that work for the Department of Transportations for the state, um, things have what I call a shelf life. Bridges are one of those things. You
Yeah.
can't expect a bridge to last 50 years and do no repairs whatsoever on it. And then when it collapses 50 years later, us citizens are thinking, well, what happened? What happened? But also, nobody wants to pay higher taxes.
Yeah, and especially here in this part of the country, the humidity doesn't help things
It does.
when it comes to materials. Now, one thing I wanted to mention too is with Alabama Power, similar to Entergy here in Mississippi, you guys create electricity and power that affects people's livelihood. I mean, the people literally cannot live without electricity. People may need it for medical devices. People need it to do business. So it really is extremely important. And I always laugh because whenever the power goes out, I always make the joke about, well, now everybody that thinks they're smarter than everybody because they went to college is depending on tradespeople. So engineers, especially in your line of work, deal with a lot of skilled tradespeople that may not have gone to college. So we have a lot of kids that maybe say, look, no, the engineering stuff is cool. The power industry obviously is not going anywhere. I think this be interesting, but I'm not really a college person. I don't want to spend 4 years. My family really can't afford it. But there is a huge need for skilled workers in your area. So talk about some of the skilled workers that you work with every day that may or may not have gone the 4 year college route.
So, with being an engineer right now, I work with a lot of construction crews that have, a span of knowledge, a wealth of knowledge, a different level of understanding. And when I'm out in the field, they teach me something every single time. Hey, Courtney, did you know? I absolutely did not know that, but now I do. How long you been doing? Oh, you've been doing this for 42 years? That's awesome. No, I did not know that. Can you explain to me a little bit deeper? Because no, I don't understand. No, I don't know the why. No, I don't know the how, but you do. So learn me something. So I work a lot with linemen. I work a lot with other contractors that we have. We have different, they use different aerial equipment, different ground moving equipment to install poles, to bury wire underground, filling those holes back up with concrete at times. It's a feat in itself. sometimes, but it's always accomplishing. So being able to converse with really anybody in my level of profession is always good. When I was at A&M, I was always taught to talk to people in my field as though they were third grader. Because in my field, you work with so many people, different levels of experience, and you just never know what background that people have. So if you talk to everybody, no matter what their title is, as if you're talking to somebody on a third grade level, then more than likely you're gonna get your point across in a very simple, clear way. You're not talking over anybody's head. I don't too much use a whole lot of big words in my everyday speech. So in my line of work, it's very important to be relatable and to be able to communicate to just about anybody.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. Not only with the communication, but about all the different equipment that's being used. Because obviously the engineer's the one making the plans and overseeing everything, but you've got to have people to execute that plan. We always need good electricians. We need great machine operators. And then you mentioned linemen. Lineman is one of the highest paying jobs, and we have a lot of athletes in here. You know, if you're somebody that likes the team aspect, likes the sports aspect, linemen are basically football players that fix lines, and they are extremely important. And yeah, they're on call a lot, but they make a lot of money. And that's not necessarily somebody that's going the college route. So I'm glad you mentioned the lineman. One of the most underappreciated jobs on the planet are the linemen that we depend on every time the power goes out. Now, something I did want to mention, and before I get to their questions, because I've already got a couple of them, is I always talk about this whenever I have a fellow official, because I think it needs to be said. You know, people don't believe that I've had such a long college basketball officiating career, and that's how we met. Through officiating. And I think it's important that, we have a lot of athletes and we are always going to need more officials. I have gotten to meet people I never would have met like yourself. I've seen places I never would have seen. And it's helped me have a great sense of camaraderie and exercise. And I'm telling you, no matter what sport people like, we're going to need officials for it very soon
Yes,
because the fact that I'm 43 years old, and I say this all the time, and this is 100% true. Almost without exception, I'm almost always the youngest person there, and that's not a good trend. So, and, if people like soccer or volleyball or football, baseball, softball, we are in desperate need of officials nationwide, especially in our areas here in Alabama, Mississippi. So, just talk about how you got into that and why we have such a need for officials.
I've been around sports for over 30 years. I dabbled and dabbled with cheerleading, softball, basketball, baseball, just a little bit of everything. Track and field. Maybe about 10 years ago, it was introduced to me in the beginning, but I didn't get around to really taking a strong interest into it until about 5 years ago. Um, I was told that there was a need for officials, so I just decided to join. I liked it. You know, we got our pros and cons, and most of the cons are, you know, the gym. Specifically in basketball, it's the gym. So being able to tune out the crowd, tune out the coaches, and just maintain the game and officiate the game as it's written in the book, then we'll be good to go. But the need for officials is increasing because of the negativity that goes around in the gym, the spectators that feel that it's okay to confront another human being that sometimes forget at the beginning of the day they're a human being, and at the end of the day they're going to be a human being as well. So being able to combat that mindset and being able to still do your job, it is a thankless job, but specifically in the world of basketball, you have 10 players on the court. That's what you're focusing on. You can't really listen to necessarily what the coaches are saying, what the spectators on the bench are saying, people that are berating you. We still have a job to do. We still have a job to perform, and we adjudicate all of that as we see necessary.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it is that even on the small college level, like we're in, I see places I've turned into weekend trips because I had a game out of town. I've gotten to, I was passing through, got to go to an NBA game while I was there, got to see all types of tour sites. I've gotten to see parts of Texas during Christmas, so it really is a great way to see areas you may not have seen. There was one season where I got to call in 7 states in the same season, which was a huge thrill for me. So that isn't
Wow.
something that a lot of people get to do. So it really is something we need men, women, everybody.
Every,
Now, but before I did skip over one thing I wanted to hit on real quick. I had their questions here. So, you went to HBCU, which does a great job of having people that look like you in certain degree programs. But once you moved into the professional world, how often did you find yourself as a double minority, being a black female in a space that for decades was dominated by white men?
that's still the case. Nothing has changed but an extra one, maybe two people that look like me. I mean, and this is just, let me see, since 2012 to present, it's just not changed much. So I went to a private school in Birmingham, Alabama, which was predominantly white. And then going from there to A&M, I see it wasn't necessarily a culture shock, but being able to experience other cultures, having those friends and other backgrounds. I mean, even when it comes down to food, I'm going to, some of my friends' houses, and I didn't realize that they were Lebanese. Food was amazing. Going to other friends' house, didn't realize that they were Italian. Food was amazing, and just the diversity and experiencing other cultures without necessarily realizing that it's another culture that I'm experiencing, if that makes sense. So being
Absolutely. I'm all about that. And believe me, I love to eat too. So yeah, anytime you can find a friend that has different kind of food, that's always a good thing.
being able to see the difference out in the field now, it's just still a little. It can be a little shocking sometimes, just depending on the makeup of the company and specifically what it is that I'm doing. I've I've never had an office job. So being out in the field is already not, females who are going to be out there in the elements anyway, or out there on the assembly line helping final assembly get their life together so that we can have good quality products that go out at the end of the day. It's, for a while, it will be a just me plus one, maybe two, who's doing the exact same thing or something nearly the exact same. Like it might be that way for a while, but learning your surroundings, learning how to fit in is really what I found. You don't have I've never changed myself. I've always been the same, but it's just learning how you can connect with different people and on what level that you can connect with them. Which for me is always food. Everybody loves to eat. Everybody loves to eat.
Yeah, and that's why I always say find you a Muslim friend because during Ramadan you're going to eat good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I do have some questions from the students. I'll get to as many of these as I can. I like this first one. This is Trevon Tucker. He's in 10th grade, one of our football players, one of our track runners, and he asked, when you ran track, what events did you do?
I ran the 100. I was the first leg in the 4x1, and I threw the javelin. And I went to state 2 years in all three of those events.
Oh, that's awesome. This is Christian Fields. He's in 9th grade, one of our football players as well. And he asked, if I wanted to be an engineer, what would be the best thing to look for in an engineering program?
Accreditation, believe it or not, accreditation. When I was in school, ABET was the main accreditation in the United States that it was, and you don't want to go to a school that is working on that accreditation. So just ensuring that that program, they have to have that certification, and not, a growing school that, they're offering pre-engineering courses or pre-mathematic courses where they're going to send you to another 4-year institution that you have to do dual enrollment. The main thing is make sure whatever institution you go to, they're accredited properly. They have to have that paperwork.
I like this, and this is Ikeria Chambers. She's in ninth grade, one of our members of our band. And she asked, what initially sparked your interest in this area of engineering as opposed to others?
For me, it's still manufacturing and infrastructure. So I've always been a hands-on, touchy-feely type engineer. Um, I've I've been in manufacturing up until I started contracting with Alabama Power. So just being in the thick of it, I'm not a sit down behind my desk type engineer. It's a lot of those. Believe it or not, it's a lot of those. The smallest product that I've ever touched as a finished product has been a 10-gallon commercial water heater. The largest product that I have touched has been an infrastructure maintenance away train. So
Dang,
that you never see here in the United States, that plow snow um,
dang.
and shoot sand out the sides. Those are the smallest and the largest products that I have put my hands on and help improve the process to to build those streamlined.
That's awesome. I got time for two more. This is Levon Johnson. He's in 10th grade, and he asked, he's interested in civil engineering, and he asked, what would it be harder to be a civil engineer as opposed to other types of engineers?
Can't speak much on engineering, even though most of my engineering friends are civil. It's different. The discipline's different. What they do is different. Most of my civil engineering friends, for one, they pass the FE, which is their Fathers of Engineering, and most of them do have their professional engineer license, which means they are licensed in the state to perform certain functions of their job. So I won't say that it's harder. It's a different skill level that they do.
I got one more. This is Takias Boyd. He's in ninth grade, one of our football players, and he asked, if you had gone to a different college other than Alabama A&M, do you think you'd still be in the same position you're in?
In the same position or better.
Wow.
Absolutely. Whether it would be Tennessee State, Tuskegee, or Alabama, they are the at plus A&M here in the South. Those those four are some of the few schools here in this portion of the South that have very strong engineering programs. Very strong engineering programs. So, you know, I got out of A&M in 4 years. So
Wow.
I go to another school and do the exact same thing. Get out in 4 to 5 years, internship, co-op, do whatever I needed to do. Get out of school and go try to be a productive member of society.
Yeah, and here in Mississippi, we have Jackson State, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Mississippi College, all with engineering programs. So it is a field that is not going anywhere. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for taking some time for us as our final guest. But before we go, why should these kids really consider getting into the engineering field as they start making decisions for their future?
The one thing that I would say is making the decision is let that decision be yours and only yours. Not your parents, not grandma, not auntie and uncle, cousin, not your friends that you know, not people that you know that make a lot of money. You can make a lot of money doing just about anything. But what I've realized with my friends who dropped the discipline after a couple of years is they were in it for the wrong reasons.
There you go.
They were in it for the wrong reasons. You like I said, you can do anything. You can be a scientist, you can be in the lab, you can be engineer, a hardcore physicist, you can work for NASA, and you can make as much money or as little money as you want. But it's all about the decision has to come really from your heart. And if the decision doesn't come from your heart and it comes from somewhere else, more than likely you will end up unsatisfied and not fulfilled with your decision. In my
Absolutely. Well,
from the heart.
there you go. I mean, and I'm walking, living proof of that. Really doing something you're behind. But I'll let you get back to your Friday. We thank you so much for joining us all the way from Montgomery, Alabama, my friend Courtney Boyd. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you on the court.
All right. Have a good one, you guys.
See you, buddy.